Okay. Should we start or? Yeah. Okay, guys. Welcome. My name is Maciej Ołpiński, and I'm a co-founder of Userfeeds. And in this talk, I'm going to be talking about what we're building and why it's important. With Userfeeds, we're trying to build an engine for tokenized ranking algorithms. And we think that, and I'm going to explain what tokenized ranking algorithms are and how they can enable totally new business models for the online media industry and a couple of other use cases. So whereas Tomek was focusing on how Ethereum works kind of on the technical layer, on the very bottom protocol layer, I'm going to be focusing on these aspects, on these kind of like second and third order effects of these technologies. So it's like, what do I mean by second and third order effects? You can imagine it like, you can study an engine of a car, how it's built and how the car works, but the second and third order effect will be how the cars influence how cities are built, or how cars enable things like supermarket. How cars change what we consider a status symbol. So with blockchain technologies especially, there is a whole lot of these second order effects because we can have these tokens, for instance, and these tokens change people's behaviors. People start owning something and they have certain incentives and they start behaving according to these incentives. So there is this technology layer, but there is also this layer of behaviors which are enabled by the underlying technology. So what I'm going to be talking today are the ranking algorithms. And if you consider that, we're in Google's campus right now, and this beautiful space is actually being built from the AdWords money, and the Google's business model is actually very simple. Google aggregates human attention in the form of the search engine because they've created a great search engine. So the world's attention is being aggregated by Google, and then Google can sell access to this attention to the advertisers. And it's not only Google, it's like, all these Web 2.0 companies like Twitter or Reddit are doing exactly the same thing. So the model is to aggregate attention on one side, provide an incentive for people to come back, centralize this data, so it's like, so only these companies can have access to this data and sell this access to the advertisers. And what actually allocates this attention on all these platforms are these ranking algorithms. These algorithms are proprietary and for profit, of course, but they're really opaque. So if you're seeing something today, like on the internet, you cannot really say why you're seeing. You can try to predict why you're seeing something, but especially, for instance, if you go to Facebook, there is a whole bunch of news you can see on your newsfeed, but you don't know how did they end up over there. And we think that such a diverse set of problems, such as, like, you've heard about fake news, or clickbait, or spam, or online governance, or targeting of advertising, can be considered as information ranking problems. Because if you think that our attention is finite, and I think we can all agree that our attention is finite, and the information is growing exponentially, so there's more and more information out there, and this information is competing to get your attention because the value is in your attention. It's like, so these ranking algorithms will determine what you are seeing. And with the proliferation of smartphones, it's like, we're connected all the time to this information source. Whoever controls the information algorithm that you pay attention to is controlling your behaviors, because they present you with a set of choices. They give you the menu. Of course, you think you are choosing, but whoever builds the menu for you is the one who has the real power. So in the attention economy we live today, the control of popular rankings, such as Google and Facebook, translates to incredible economic power, because you can sell access, and political power. And, of course, there will be different interfaces because, Facebook will have a different interface and will use social signals to generate ranking. Comments will be another ranking, another interface in a different context under articles of blogs. There will be, of course, the search engine. There will be Hacker News or Reddit. It will be different interfaces, but the actual model of the business will be the same. Create a useful ranking, aggregate attention in this ranking, and sell access to this attention. And selling access to attention in these rankings is called advertising. And I would like to reframe a little bit because we kind of intuitively feel what advertising is. Oh, of course, ads are these banners that we see on websites, and sometimes they are useful, sometimes they're not, but this is what ads really are. But if you think about it, what these advertising platforms are really doing, like from the business point of view, you can say that advertising platforms are really platforms for these content ranking algorithms, but the special kind of a content ranking algorithm, the one that uses dollars or euros or other currencies as a ranking signals. Dollars today are just numbers in a database. It's a specific database. Some people have access to them. Some people don't. But it's really the way AdWords works. It's like, is there a signal in the database? If there is a signal, of course, there is advertising paying us money, so we are bumping up a signal. Bumping up a position of the ad, for instance, based on the signals in a specific database. Dollars and euros are these database entries, and if this database entry is changed, boom, the ranking goes up. And because of this mechanism, these places like this one were built. There's a lot of money that you can generate. It's very profitable business. So you have the dollar-based signals, and you have organic signals. And the organic signals for the ranking, in case of PageRank, will be the number of links, the original PageRank model, and thousands of other signals, which don't rely on dollars. And on top, you have the signals, the ranking algorithms, that rely on dollars. So can we try to think about other ranking algorithms that can use signals that we own? It's like if you think that Bitcoin is money and it's a public database, could we use something like this to try to allocate our attention? Because we agree our attention is valuable, and attention of thousands of people is valuable. So can we use these signals that are based on these public ledgers? So actually, if you think of Bitcoin and other tokens, from the business point of view, tokens proved that suddenly it's possible to create all these business models that didn't exist before, that allow us to monetize open data and open networks in a completely new way. Historically, if you wanted to run a business and have investors, you had to close your data, so to build a moat, so you only have access to the data, and sell access to this data for dollars. With tokens, suddenly we can have stakeholders who have an economic interest in something. Data is open, the code is open, but the actual token creates an economic moat, and all these participants who have the token become stakeholders in the network. And if the network grows, they have more money because other people want to have these tokens, and there's this network effect which is monetized and distributes the value to the actual participants of the network. So if you have Ether, or if you have any other token in the middle, you have these people who control these tokens on the network, and they are these stakeholders. So imagine that if you have Google in 1998, so the Google is just starting. It's a thought experiment that I'd like to give you to explain our thinking behind the engine. Imagine that, right now, Google to rank advertising, as I showed you before, is using this ad rank algorithm for the sponsored links. I'm not talking about the organic links. I'm using the ad rank algorithm. So basically, everybody who wants to buy AdWords will use this model. So basically, it's CPC bid. So it's the how much money in dollars or euros you want to pay, multiplied by quality score, and quality score are some kind of Google's subjective criteria. So imagine if there was and that's it. But imagine for this purpose of this example that there is a third ranking factor, and it's a Google coin that Google sells just like Bitcoin today. That would be a Google coin in 1998 that Google will be using in their auction. So actually, if you want to increase the position of your ad, you can use Google Coin, and it will be like the CPC, for instance. How much would you pay for such a coin in 1998? It's very hard to say how much exactly would you pay, but we can pretty much say that the value of Google Coin would be, you would try to speculate how much attention Google will get in the future, because the value of this Google, if Google search engine becomes popular, you can assume that people would like to advertise here. So if you control something that it can increase your value in the Google ranking algorithm, it would be exactly like holding dollars. You wouldn't have to hold dollars. You could achieve the same economic effect, basically getting traffic to your website with the Google coin. So basically holding a Google coin at the time would be speculating on how popular the Google search engine is going to get. And you could imagine a keyword coin. Google could issue a coin for each specific keyword, and the model would be exactly the same. However, in this case, if Google was boosting the position of the ad for a specific keyword, this keyword coin would be an equivalent for dollar, but only for this keyword. It would be just basically, it would allow you to achieve the same economic effect, getting traffic to your website. We can all agree that getting traffic to your website is valuable, and people pay money for this. So it means that Google could essentially sell these coins on the market, and the market could determine the value of the Google search engine. Right now, I would say the same. Of course, Google now is Alphabet, and there are many different companies that are part of this conglomerate. But if you just separated the Google search engine from Google, right now, so the value of Google is really all these dollars from this AdWords account that end up on Google's account, and they generate a cash flow. And Google's stock is really the expectation, is the discounted future cash flow from the advertising. But if you think of it, what's possible with tokens that can be exchanged on these public ledgers, you could essentially have a protocol which achieves the same thing. However, you don't have the shareholders of Google buying into the cash flow from dollars. You could have a keyword coin or Google coin or something that basically influences the ranking, and it would achieve exactly the same economic effect. Basically, if these coins could influence these results and they could be traded, their value should be proportional to the attention that is there. So it would be exactly the same thing as with the CPC. So if you think about how the internet economy really works, like, how it's like all these companies like Instagram, Facebook, and Google, we all know that they're valuable. It's like, people who have a lot of traffic on their websites or people who have a lot of followers, they can get money. So we kind of intuitively understand these scarcities, like, money and attention and reputation. But I'd like to give you a bit of a kind of deeper dive into this. So, of course, money everybody understands. It's like, it's dollars or Bitcoin. But we also understand that, if you have money, you can buy attention online. You can exchange. But actually, the way you buy attention online is like you can exchange this money into reputation in a specific platform. You can go to Facebook and you can buy likes. You can buy the reputation signal. Or you can buy the boost in the AdWords ranking from Google, et cetera, et cetera. But if we talk about consensus algorithms, and this is what this kind of decentralized cryptocurrency space is all about, consensus algorithms work in this way that the point of a consensus algorithm is that everybody has to agree on the same state. Everybody has to see the same thing. Like, Bitcoin works because we can look at the network and we agree that what the state of the network is. And if you own one Bitcoin and I own one Bitcoin, we can exchange them. And each Bitcoin is exactly, it has the same value. It should be fungible. Bitcoins are fungible. And money has to be fungible to work as money. However, ranking algorithms are something different. In the case of a ranking algorithm, the best ranking will be always evaluated on a subjective criteria. So if you listen to a specific type of music, this is a ranking that is valuable only to you. And if a search engine or a social network, or like Spotify in the case of music, gives you the ranking, this ranking is valuable to you, but it's not valuable to anyone else. So you cannot assign the same value to the same data because everybody will have different values. Basically, Bitcoin works because it shows everyone the same thing. So it looks at the state of the network and everybody looks at it in the same way. Facebook and Google actually work because they show you different things. Like, based on the same state, they provide you with different views on the network. So in case of the reputation system and value judgments, you might say that in the case of Bitcoin, it's valuable to everyone, and everybody sees the same thing. And we have to come to a consensus, because if we don't come to a consensus when it comes to money, it doesn't work. Money requires consensus. But in the case of Facebook, you don't require people to come to a consensus on the value of your friends and family. Everybody values their friends and family at the top, and everybody will have a different, so everybody will assign different values on Facebook. Everybody will see different, just check your friend's Facebook feed, and it will always looks like strange. Whoa, if you see something scrolling, because they have something totally different than you have, because this is how it works. It's a reputation, its value will be always valuable only to you. It's a one database and many views. And what we are really building is something in the middle. We want to use tokens and signals coming from the tokens, but allow people to modify views into these tokens, into these networks, with a mechanism I'm going to tell you about right now. So imagine that you have the Ethereum network, and you have the token holders, and all these people have different token holdings. So they form a network, and they want to send. So right now they come to a consensus as how many tokens everybody has. But having a token is really owning and controlling a private key that corresponds to a certain balance on the network, in the database. There is a Ethereum database, blockchain, and everybody can come to a consensus, how many Ethereum tokens everybody has. But imagine that instead of signing the transactions that will go to the network and update the state, they can send transactions that will back other keys outside of the network, and they will basically sign cryptographically verifiable statements that they, for instance, like a certain URL. So you have a like over there. These transactions, they don't become part of the state, but we can still analyze them and verify them. So we can suddenly start creating a content graph, basically cryptographic links between a network and content, which allow us, and we can analyze all these relationships and create all sorts of rankings. And these rankings can be created by algorithms. Everybody can create their own algorithm, and one algorithm, and we call them, because in our model we call these statement thoughts. The network you can assign a thought. A network can basically say what the network can think. People owning tokens can assign thoughts. We can analyze these thoughts, and we can assign different algorithms, like this subjectivity I was talking to you about earlier, can be expressed in this algorithm. So this algorithm can, for instance, amplify certain types of thoughts and minimize other types of thoughts. You can run another algorithm which will run. So it will emphasize it will produce you a different ranking. And you can go through, the data set is the same, but by using different algorithms, you can get different points of view on the same network. And then imagine that you have all these interfaces. Of course, this is just an abstract algorithm. We always consume information through a certain interface. So you can have social discovery application. You can have an ad network or a content recommendation system. So we can basically display these algorithms on all of these interfaces. And every interface has access to all of the data. And now you can imagine that these interfaces also can have their own tokens. So imagine that you own one of these tokens. And using these tokens, you can also use the token as a signal for these rankings. So you have the Ethereum network, and people from the Ethereum network can suddenly start signaling what content is important to them. But also people who have a stake in certain interfaces, they can also say, like, they can also point and create signals that show the importance of specific content. So what's going to happen if there is attention? So let's come back to the Google example. If there is actual attention on these interfaces, people start using these interfaces, the value of this token will go up in the same way that the value of this Google coin will go up. In the same way that if your startup gets users, investors will pay you money because there is attention and there is usage. But in this model, everything can happen on the protocol layer. And why would this work like this? Because if you own the token and there is traffic, because this attention is essentially traffic, this token gives you access to this traffic in the way that we can explain it like this. Just imagine that this is Google, and this Google displays rankings from the Ethereum network, and the token is basically AdWords. The token is like AdWords. It's a signal for customized AdWords. In the past, only Google could have AdWords. With this model, everybody can launch a token, and everybody can use it for signaling. And the value of it will just depend on the attention of people who are using the token. So that's why this interface token could become valuable. So right now with the advertising, as the competition for attention increases, and you can all feel that, the information overload, the fake news, the scandal, the clickbait, people are like, oh, how do we solve fake news? To me, fake news is just a symptom of increasing competition for attention. Because showing certain images and getting the algorithm to rank certain images has tremendous influence. Trump has just bombarded Syria because he saw the pictures. Apparently, he saw the pictures of babies being gassed. So this creates incentive to basically creating more situations like that where babies are being killed and distributing this all over the web because it can create a response. So we're seeing this mechanism already, and this misalignment of incentives between users, platform owners and advertisers becoming more apparent. People are installing AdBlock. There is a huge war now happening between Facebook and AdBlock programmers because people want AdBlock because they don't want to see more ads. The companies are trying to prevent that because that's where their business model is. And advertisers, they want cheaper ads. The platform owners want more expensive ads and more of them. So basically, and if you think that this competition for attention will increase, and everybody's competing for the same pie of finite attention, there is not going to be more of it. So that's why we think that the world is getting weirder, because the weirder and more shocking messages get through, because this is what people will click on. We think that with a token model, we can basically start reinventing the whole thing. Because imagine that if you start paying attention to rankings, which are based on these tokens that you can own, it's basically, is it still advertising? And it's a hypothetical question. I think it's very interesting. Like, if you own the advertising network, and you know that all the messages that are coming through are coming from the network that you own, is it still advertising in a way that it is in this kind of model where you have advertisers, platforms, and users, where you never own the advertising platform? In this model, you can think about these different models where basically advertising becomes like signaling between stakeholders. You know that if you see something, it's coming from people that are from the same network, because for you to see it, you know that they had to own the token. And if they own the token, they are aligned economically with you, because it's like shareholders. It's like every Facebook user was a shareholder of Facebook. And but in this world, every token can mean, these tokens can mean certain topics. Right now, the tokens that are out there, they represent very low-level technical protocols, that they're very inaccessible to people. But they can mean different things. They can be, fashion tokens. I don't know, they can represent some cities, some locations. They can represent some games, some ideas that people go online and they want to check out. And they can, if the value and if the social graph, and if the content graph is being created around these tokens, all these things are possible. So right now for the media companies, they're just two revenue streams. They can sell advertising in the models I just described, or they can sell subscriptions. We think that we can enable a third revenue stream for the existing companies, and basically a new ways of organizing people's attention online is like they can sell a token. Because suddenly if they start selling a token, they can start turning their audiences into their stakeholders in a way that wasn't possible really before. Because if people start owning something, they pay attention to something. If you own Bitcoin or if you own Ether, you know or some other cryptocurrency, you know that if you own it, you will go to websites about it. You will check it out. You will follow it. But right now, your attention will be allocated by Facebook, Reddit, or Twitter, which doesn't know anything about the token balances, and so on and so forth. So what we're building is the engine, is the technology that will allow you to basically create these rankings. So they will allow you to listen to the blockchain, to the signals on the blockchain, and maybe add some other subjective signals and create these rankings where the token is the component. They don't have to be totally 100% decentralized. In our view, if some ranking just uses the token for some type of ranking evaluation, the token will have some value proportionally to the attention that goes into the ranking. So our goal is to enable all these new business models for the existing publishers, but also these new methods of organizing communities and allocating attention within these communities. So if you're interested, if you're a publisher, if you're building dApps, we're very interested to hear from you, because we think that every dApp on Ethereum will need a ranking of some sort. We'll have a featured section. We'll have a top 24, top posts from the last day, or top applications, or top auctions, or whatever. There will be some discovery model that you will need. So this is what we want to provide to you. And we also think that some of the dApps will be just pure rankings. Like if you think about how the internet works today, a lot of top platforms are purely providing ranking for your attention. And we think that in this decentralized world, where you have, we have Ethereum as processing, we have these decentralized databases, we have Golem, also from Warsaw, so they provide a layer of computation. There will be storage, there will be other ones, there will be prediction markets. We think that the ranking layer will be also necessary, because somebody will have you, in this world of infinite information, you will need to rely on a ranking of some sort to tell you what to pay attention to. And these rankings, if they use tokens, you can be rewarded for that. So you can participate in these network effects created by attention. If they don't use tokens, some other people will be making money on them, because your attention will be always valuable, because it's the most finite, scarce asset that we all have. So please sign up to our newsletter. And if you're interested in what we're building, and if you're building a dApp for yourself, you would like to use this technology, I would be delighted to talk to you afterwards. Thank you. Are there any questions? Yes? But just the microphone, okay?
Okay, so I have problem to understand where is the blockchain in your idea. For example, you told that you have these interfaces, and if the interface is popular, then token have bigger value.
Yes.
But how you measure this attention?
Attention can be measured, of course, it's a very good question, because today, attention is measured by the essentially HTTP requests, clicks, are a measure of attention in the world we live in today. So it's but clicks are easily abused. If the attention is there, so if people are actually taking actions, if you, for instance, if your URL, but just let's use the existing model, the clicks. If your URL is being kind of backed by these tokens, if people are pointing to your website, for instance, and all of the Ethereum holders are visiting your website, so you can see, you can even tag these links, for instance. These links that are backed with the tokens can be tagged, so you can recognize that the traffic is coming from this ranking. You will see this traffic on your website, essentially.
I still don't understand. So I have the website and the normal browser.
You have an interface. You have an interface which is a website or an application, and today you can measure where the traffic is coming from, for instance. If people, and you can, so this is how you measure attention today, you know? And of course it's just the measure, because attention is really, I can have an army of bots, and they can generate a lot of click, and these clicks will not be valuable to you. They will show up in Google Analytics, but it's not the real attention that you want. You want attention that will take action. So you can imagine that you can create, just to maybe simplify, so you create a special website that only you know about. And this URL, you advertise on, let's say, you know, Reddit, or you start with your Ether holdings, you back this URL with your Ether. And other people start doing the same. And this ranking, this backing spreads across other interfaces, because there are many interfaces that look for these signals. So this URL is being spread across interfaces. And if there is actual attention there, I mean, there are users who are using these interfaces to discover stuff, you will see traffic going to your website in the same way you see traffic coming from Reddit.
Yes, but I will see the owner of the website. But what about the rest of people?
Visitors?
Yeah, I mean, if there is a big attention on my website, my token is more viable. So I can say my website is very popular. How you check it?
No, because like it's like Reddit. So imagine that if your website goes up on Reddit, it's valuable. If a lot of people use Reddit, you see the traffic from Reddit. So it's valuable to you to somehow increase your ranking on Reddit. Yes, and if this kind of Reddit-like system is created using the token-based signal, it is worth to you to own this token because you can increase the ranking. It's just like AdWords. You know, if you own something that can boost your ranking on some interface, it will become valuable. Just like links become valuable, people start paying for links when Google introduced PageRank. You know, SEO services were actually, you know, it's a service. Well, you know, I'm paying you money, so you drive more links to my website, and it goes up in ranking. What we are saying is that if you have interfaces that use tokens as these rankings, the same mechanism will happen. But you don't have to buy links, you can buy these tokens because they will boost the ranking in the interface.
Yes, the final question is, I am the normal user, and I just go to this website by the web browser.
Yes.
So it don't help this website in your rankings because I don't have Ethereum, right?
So in this case, you will, like if you're a normal user and you visit the website, it's like if you're a normal user, you probably don't know anything. 99% of people don't know anything about AdWords. They just go to Google and they click on links, and the entire economy works. Yeah, that's it. Like, because some people will want their attention and some people will pay money, but actually the users of Google are like billions of people. I don't know how many advertisers Google has, but probably 1% of that, or a fraction of a percent, that will pay money because this attention is there. 99% of users of Google, they just go to Google because they provide them with a discovery mechanism. And there's this 1% that makes Google valuable because all these other people are there. So what we're saying that, you know, if suddenly, for the context of Ethereum, for instance, there is a topic of Ethereum, if these token-based algorithms can provide a better discovery mechanism that will attract these users, they will become, like, most of these users won't have to participate in this economy. It will still work, but a lot of them will want to be participants of this economy. Just like, if you see Bitcoin, you can read about Bitcoin and not own it, but at a certain point you're like, maybe I'm gonna get some. And if you own some, using our technology, you'll be able to also influence this ranking. So basically, be a part of basically be like a decentralized Google or Facebook or something like that.
So I understood about 35% of what you said, of the concept.
Yeah.
And I think the example with the Google rank and everything, that's what I understood most.
Yeah.
And so if this works, I think it's going to be pretty obvious in the future. So before I ask my question, I'll just give you a bit of feedback.
Yeah.
So just like explaining PageRank or Wikipedia or anything in 1986 was probably very intellectually difficult. Yeah. I feel the same way right now. So if you stretch the Google rank example, I think it'll be easier to understand. You're missing like one or two more analogies for it to be, because I'm not an IT person or anyway. My question is, my real question is, how is your idea, your startup, different from the basic attention token, which was announced not long ago? Because I think the BAT token is more sort of like user centered rather than network content provider. Am I right?
So the way I understand basic attention token is that they want to have one token for the entire network. We think the way this attention economy of tokens is going to work is that people basically pay attention to the tokens they own. It's like you have to, like all these contexts and topics, topics of interest or communities of interest will congregate around each individual token. So it's like if you want to get the attention of the Ethereum community, you will need to signal with Ether. Like, tokens you own is like or Bitcoin, or because they will pay attention to people who have the same incentives and beliefs that they have. People will naturally congregate around these tokens. So basically, tokens you have are the beliefs you have. The tokens you hold are the beliefs you hold about the world. Because if you own the token, it means it's a proof of belief. You think that this will be bigger, and you believe in that. You can buy it for short term, so you can see how long you've owned a specific token. So if you own Bitcoin from 2011, it's a proof of belief in Bitcoin from 2011. Like you believed in something and you held to it. Of course you can sell it, but it's a proof of like skin in the game. You have skin in something. So we think that these interests will congregate. So you will have to use this specific token of a specific community to get the attention of a specific community. But this is the way. So this is the difference. We think that there will be thousands of tokens distributed in many different ways. Of course, there is this ICO craze right now, and I'm not saying whether ICOs, some ICOs are definitely positive. I see a lot of scams there, and I see a lot of danger in the way these ICOs are carried out. But I think we'll figure out a way of distributing tokens in one way or another. But I think tokens are here to stay as a way of organizing communities around shared beliefs and shared causes. But what I'm pretty confident about is that in the future, in this kind of full-blown attention economy where everybody will compete for your attention, you will only pay attention to people who can prove somehow that they have a skin in the game, in the same game as you have, because you will only pay attention to the stakeholders. Because right now the problem is that Facebook can sell your attention for dollars to some random person, and you don't know, and because of the business model, they have to keep it secret. Who is this person? Because they can make money from it. And your attention is for sale because for Facebook it's free. In the model we kind of advocate for is like, if you want to get my attention, you need to prove that you made a sacrifice for the community I'm a part of. And as tokens become more popular, people will have more of them. And I think they will not only represent kind of technical protocols as they do today, they will represent some other causes, some other concepts and ideas. But essentially, there will be like, proofs of belief. Sorry? I think it's already happening. Like, if you think that, in 2009 we had one token, Bitcoin, and now you have like, hundreds. Oh, I think more of them, like 200 we have on CoinMarketCap, which is a ranking algorithm for tokens based on market cap. Very simple ranking, but very useful. People pay attention to it. But there are thousands of other ones. I think we still are at this kind of very technical stage where it's hard to own these tokens. But if you think about what's happening for instance, in the mobile game space, the entire mobile game economy is monetized via virtual currencies, like, or even social games, things like Farmville. They were all monetized based on tokens, but these tokens were issued and owned by this one company and sold for dollars. I think there is nothing new in that respect, and people wanted to own them, and people wanted to kind of signal their importance with these tokens. People will buy all these virtual items to increase their reputation in the virtual community. And I think the same thing will happen here, with the difference that these communities will be more open. I think we have to just use the microphone, okay?
Which of the existing apps do you think is most likely to use your technology right now? Which is most appropriate, most suitable?
I think that...
Would Ethereum use it, or...
I think even for instance, let's use the prediction markets. There's Augur, there's Gnosis coming up, and you have thousands of markets. How do you, and if you want to build top featured markets, like if you want to go to Augur and you want to see some prediction markets to participate in, and there are millions of them. Everybody can create a prediction market.
But are there millions of them?
No, but there can be, there can be thousands of markets. And of course, you can use some objective signals, but you can also use the token to basically own the token and promote your market, which is maybe a smaller one, but it's interesting. How do you build a ranking for this market? So how you build the app store. Any application that will need an app store or a featured section or something, or a list, and most of them will need someone to provide an algorithm. And I think we can provide a technology that gives them the ranking and at the same time can boost the value of their token because they have a token already, they just need to use it for something. And outside of the kind of protocol use cases that are programmed in the smart contract, it can be also used for signaling like that.
Want to use it for ICOs ranking?
I think that in the future...
And how would it work? Just
imagine that you are bootstrapping a community of people that will, Pinterest-like community with a token. Fashion, let's imagine it's going to be about fashion. And you can get this token, and you can rank these discoveries that they have, like these Pinterest-like discoveries with this token. So essentially, you can imagine that the pure value of this token can be the attention of the people who want to participate in the economy. It's just exactly like Pinterest is valued today. But Pinterest, to monetize itself, needs USD as a way to transact and sell attention within just like the Google coin. But if you substitute the need for US dollar to rank something, you can have this token as becoming valuable purely on the network effect and people's attention. There's a question in the back.
So from my understanding, buying tokens is like buying shares in the company?
It's not like buying, shares represent your ownership and equity stake in a company like Google. It's like, and the company is of course like the search engine and the cash flow generated by the search engine, but it's also like the, offices and server infrastructure and all these other things. And this is what you own by having an equity in a company. But in a way, if you think that all these online companies basically sell access to attention. And this is their core value proposition. Yes, it's like, that's why people give them dollars in the first place, because they can get attention of some other people. You can imagine that what happens at the company level right now can be priced at the protocol level, purely because if people own the token, they pay attention to the token, and if they pay attention to the token, you can get this attention owning the token. It's like stakeholders communicating with each other. So essentially, you can think of this like that, but it's not something that is recognized by law as a share in a company, because it's not like that. It's like, it's an emergent property of these tokens that you can even look that, when the price goes up of Ethereum or Bitcoin, compare the changes in price with changes to traffic to Reddit. Reddit has public statistics for subreddits. It's just like, price goes up, traffic goes up. Why? Because if there is price, like, this is the internet phenomenon. This happens on the internet. People will start paying to changes, like, price goes up, I will visit the website. They will educate themselves. They go somewhere to look at it. And this traffic is valuable. So in a way, their economic outcome can be similar to the economic outcome of the shares in a company, but they won't be shares.
Tokens can have inflation?
Yes, like what I described here is kind of independent of the token issuance. You can have many token issuance models. You can have inflation, you can have deflation, you can have fixed issuance, like you can have one-time event for issuance of these tokens, or you have some continuous token models that you can read about continuous token models. Simon de la Riviere, he described a model where instead of one-time ICO, you can have a contract where you can permanently buy new tokens from. So there are many different models that you can issue them with. But the key principle is that we can use all of them, because all these tokens will be public, and you can run an algorithm which says like, okay, if somebody owns this particular token, change this ranking. So this relationship between tokens and attention is the same regardless of the token issuance.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. There was one more question here.
I was just wondering, it sounds like if you, in this model, people could end up like only buying from people that their political interests are. It almost sounds like this could divide the world a bit.
I think, yes, it's a very good, we're thinking about this a lot, about what's really, I think world is already getting divided. Like if you think about what's happening with the internet is like, 20th century was about centralization and mass media gave us the illusion that basically we lived in these huge bubbles, filter bubbles of millions of people. Everybody was in the same bubble. And with the internet and decentralization, we also get this effect of decentralization of ideas, because if you assume that your attention is finite, and it is, you will always pay attention to things that are relevant to you. You will pay it, and your family is a filter bubble. Your language is a filter bubble. The city you live in is a filter. It creates a filter for your attention. I think it will not further kind of. It won't kind of necessarily reinforce further kind of division between people, but if you think that we already have the internet and the information is growing exponentially, you need to create an economic disincentive for people, and there is to spread fake news, to spread hate, because it's filtered by these tokens. It costs you money to actually spread information that is kind of sensational and tabloid-like, because right now, with the current economic model on Facebook, for instance, you're actually incentivized to spread information like that, because there is no cost. You can easily divide people in many ways you want. But yes, I think that regardless of whether we do the tokens, like, tokens are happening. And the decentralization of ideas the decentralization of reality, in a way, it's going to happen regardless, because it's a function of increasing information and finite attention. And you won't be able to pay attention to everything. And yes, 20 years ago, you and your neighbor were watching the same channel on TV. And today, you and your neighbor are living in two different realities, because the websites you are watching and they're watching are totally different ones, you know. And it's impossible to avoid. If you want to have decentralization, you're going to have it. We're all going to have it. You know?
It almost sounds like as if you could start to label businesses. And like, okay, this business is run by, you know, people that are progressive. This business is run by people who are conservative. We know that, and I'm only going to do business with people that have the same political orientation as myself. So, and you can almost feel it, like that's where the world is going to. And it just sounded like to me like as if like this is.
It is kind of going in this way, but in this situation we're having now, all the data about the affiliation relationships is locked up in proprietary databases that you don't have access to. With the word we're advocating for is like, of course, we're not going to change the underlying economics of attention and, you know, all these incentives. They're still going to be there. But because the data is open, everybody can build an algorithm. Everybody can launch a token. You know, everybody has equal access. You will have much more innovation and filtering that is client-side. You will be able to build your own algorithm or have someone else provide an algorithm for you. And you will be able to align yourself with certain groups of people and not with the others. So there will be more transparency with the algorithms that control basically what you're seeing and what your version of reality is. Because it's based on the open data and you have all these incentives. You cannot build a different newsfeed if you want, because you don't have access to the database of Facebook because of the business model. Yeah, it's a very complex problem. But we need openness in the first place to start solving it. You know, I think that's the first step. Last question.
I've been following you earlier on the internet, and in your previous talks, I heard you talking quite a lot about also a reputation
Yes.
and immutable identity on the net. Can you just say a few words how this, you know, relates to what Userfeeds.io is doing?
Yeah, so reputation, you know, reputation is a very kind of loaded world. Everybody understands something different by reputation. And very often if you say reputation, it means like, you know, your reputation on a marketplace like, you know, eBay or your,
What drew, you know, my attention was the fact when you mention how people with certain reputation that are followed, like let's call them celebrities, can monetize their value in the eyes of others by pointing out, you know, and how Userfeeds could, you know, help them achieve this.
Yeah. So basically, in our thinking, we describe reputation for the purpose of our model. So reputation you have is the probability of getting attention in the future. So it's like, you know, your reputation is, if you get a lot of links, it means that the chance of you getting attention in the future is higher in the context of Google. If you get a lot of likes in the context of Facebook, your probability of getting more likes and more attention in the future goes up. So this is how we, for the sake of the ranking algorithms, reputation of a data point is its probability of getting attention in the future. So if you have celebrities or basically publishers or people who create something, today they get this reputation, these likes, or maybe not links, because links are on the open web, but let's say like, you know, there are likes or follows on Twitter. So this reputation is locked up in the silo. You cannot take your likes with you outside of Facebook. They're going to stay there forever. And this is what I just described about the ranking algorithms. If you have these backings, if you have these links which are cryptographically signed on the open data layer, and everybody can verify them, they always stay with you because they are signed with your private key that you control and own. So this is what I mean by controlling your own identity.
Like your history on the web.
Your history on the web is tied to something you control. Just this, in the same way you control your Bitcoin, so you have your private key. That means your reputation, because you don't own reputation. Reputation is in people's heads. It's my perception of you is your reputation. It's like what you control is the history of your actions. And I can, this is what this subjectivity means. It's like, you know, I will build my subjective reputation of you in my perception based on your actions. But what you own is the history of your actions, because whatever you signed with your key is there on the public layer, visible to everyone. So this is what I mean by owning your reputation, even though it's technically impossible because you cannot own that. You know. Okay, I think that's it. There was a lot of questions. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.